I'm a genetic engineer, which means I write code. I'm literally a software engineer. I write code, and that code executes on computers that I call cells. The difference is when I write code for these cells, it generates more cells if I want it to. So this is software that makes hardware. For example, I started it as sperm and egg, right? It combines, it creates a new program. That program boots up and generates 10 trillion cells. That's called me. That's a powerful program. You plant a seed in the ground, you're really booting up a program that executes and turns into this incredible organism over time. That's powerful. So genetic engineering is one of the most powerful technologies we've ever created because it allows us to make living things, and this is a living world. So the more we can, and living things take raw materials, literally dirt, nutrients, and with a bit of sunlight and a bit of sugar, allows us to make incredible complexity, whether it's a butterfly or your neighbor or a buffalo, it doesn't matter. It's just code. So now we're learning how to make a living world, something we haven't been able to do. We don't live in nature anymore. We put boxes around it. But now we can actually engineer nature to sustain our needs. And all we have to do is design the code, and it will self-create. Our visions today, if we can encapsulate them in a seed, grows. I think the role of architects today is to create the things that we need to live as human beings. Human beings are unique and special in that we're the only organism that can't live in nature as we're born. As we're born, we have to create technologies and things to sustain us, whether it's our clothes, whether it's our cars, whether it's health technologies. We simply can't live as we're born anymore. We've moved away from that. And so architecture plays this really fundamental role in that it houses us, it nurtures us, it allows us to live in the world today. And without it, we don't survive. Right now we have to go build with the technologies that we have. You know, part building, part living systems. But one day, who knows, maybe we'll plant a seed and grow a skyscraper that has all the nutrients it needs to stay warm, to literally react to our environment, maybe even keep an eye on us, protect us, nurture us. It's just all in the design. And what we're learning today is that we get to design every living thing, but we can take our inspirations from nature, we can take our intelligence from computing systems, and we can integrate it all into living systems which are infinitely recyclable, automatically green, and again just brings us back into nature again, but a nature that can sustain us. And I think it's crucial. As we add another 3 or 4 billion people to the planet over the next few years, how are we going to do this in a way that doesn't pollute the environment more, doesn't destroy the natural world? And I think the way we do it is we start making the natural world serve our needs. Feed us, clothe us, house us, educate us, sustain us. Life starts as a single cell. That's fine. A bacterium is a single cell and it lives just fine. But it learned that if you network, if you connect a bunch of cells together, then you can do something even more powerful. You can become a tissue. You can become a multicellular organism. So we're a networked collection, just our own bodies, our networks of hundreds of different cell types, trillions of cells working to create an individual. So networking is actually key to creating complexity. You can have a certain amount of complexity as a standalone organism, as a standalone agent, but when you network, you end up getting this multiplier effect that you become greater than the sum of the parts. So networking is crucial. The architects tend to be at the forefront of the design space, and a very practical one, because architects create the world. And what I see happening is giving them new tools, first of all. Digital tools. The same digital tools that you might use to design a building can now be used to design an organism. It can be used to design living systems that produce new materials. So the material space is growing rapidly. The design space is growing rapidly to include living things. And the architects, I think, will be at the forefront of it, because architects realize that they have to create things that people want and need and use every day, and that they shape the world. So I look at this as an incredible opportunity for a new generation of architects to expand their abilities and move into completely new spaces. So let me just back up one step to the idea of a complicated cell. There's a bacterial cell which is literally just like a bag of soup. It's like soup. But if you go to our own cells, what we call a eukaryotic cell, and you look at one cell, it's actually organized like a city. There is a nucleus where the DNA is kept. That's like the main library or the government. And then we have working copies of that. That's like literally like photocopiers and going and spreading information around. And then we have transport mechanisms, we have waste management systems, we have energy production systems, we have manufacturing systems, and it all works together. And one cell is actually organized, in fact, like a city. And it turns out that cities are the most efficient ways of taking complex architectures and making them function like a beautiful dance. Like it's this, and you see it in one cell, you see it as our bodies, because we have areas that do waste management and removal. We have areas that do thinking. We have areas that do energy management. We have we have all these systems that organize the same, whether you're talking about one cell, 100 trillion cells, or a city. And cities are like organisms. The physicist Jeffrey West from the Santa Fe Institute talks about cities as organisms, and they're incredible. They're robust. They keep growing, they keep attracting, they keep getting bigger, because there's an efficiency that comes with cities. Cities are the new organism, and they're going to keep breeding, and the best of them will learn from the others, and they'll keep adapting. But these cities won't be just little clusters that stand alone in nature. They'll start to integrate more with nature. And you look far enough in the future and the whole world becomes a city. The thing that I'd love to see, though, in cities is to turn off the lights, because then we can actually see the stars again. And seeing the stars allows us to actually appreciate our place as a planet in the universe. And we're just one small, small place in this grand scheme of things. But as we sit in our cities and live, it's great to see out, and it's great to see down to the nanoscopic, the molecular, the nanoscopic, because then we understand where we sit in this giant architecture that we call reality. If you look at 3D printers, we have a creator movement, people that can use software tools to create a design. We have a maker movement that's making different printers. And when you combine those, you have designers sending their designs to printers and making real things. This is pretty powerful. And 3D printing is revolutionizing manufacturing. And we already make bioprinters, printers that can print living systems. And the two merge. You can print plastic, and you can include living systems in that plastic. Or you can just print cells to make tissues, potentially foods, maybe one day organs, maybe one day entire living homes. So we've got these incredible machines now that translate ideas into realities. The beautiful thing about biology is that code is so powerful. DNA code is an idea encapsulated in code that when we put it into a living cell, makes that living cell turn into the object, whether it's an animal or a plant or a human. So this is 3D printing without a printer. It's programmable matter. And eventually we'll get better and better at making programmable matter, where you just boot up the idea and it turns into the reality. And this is something that's happening faster and faster. This century changes most of this, between rapid prototyping and manufacturing, to biological engineering at every scale that you can imagine, to design, the digital world, and tools to help you design, also growing the visions of design. What do you want to do? What do you want to create? Because that's what you're going to go and spend your time working on. So what do you want to create? And then if you create it, who's going to use it? Who wants it? And then everything in between that, you wanting to create and who wants to use it. Maybe it's just you, but maybe there's a billion people. That's where we have to fill in the gaps. And the tools that we make today, the computers, genetic engineering, 3D printing, everything, that just closes the gaps. And so today, on a practical level, I tell people study software design tools. Because software design tools allow you to create, but everyone to come in and add to those creations. It's better than paper and pencil. You know, that's really powerful. Start with envisioning the world that you want, and then you'll end up creating it.